Hi, everybody. Mark Stone, Eastern Propane and Oil. Been with Eastern for, this is my 14th year, but been involved with JD Edwards for quite a bit longer than that. Very exciting times to be a JD Edwards customer, and looking forward to sharing what we're doing with Swift with you all. Eastern is made up of 2/3 mobile employees. Most of the people that work at Eastern don't work in an office. So they need to have a way to get information out in the field and capture information and then return it to our system of record so that we can bill our customers. And again, Orchestrator and now Swift are two really important parts of that. So why did Eastern select Swift? This came about last year at the beginning of a pretty significant project that Eastern was undertaking to replace a legacy delivery system. We've been using a delivery system since 2014 that for a few reasons needed to be replaced. As part of the project, we started to implement, and it became apparent that there were a few gaps that we thought initially we would be able to address with the new solution, and we weren't able to do so. We started looking around for solutions for this, and based on these bullet points, we were looking for something that was going to be easy for us to implement and implement quickly and to maintain with the resources that we had. It had to be device agnostic because we had a couple of different devices that we're using in the field. JD Edwards was going to be the system of record, and we preferred to use the Orchestrator for the integrations. And we wanted to have some familiarity with the partner so that they understood JD Edwards. We needed to make this happen quickly, and it was important for us that we hit the ground running and that we're all talking the same talk in regards to applications when we brought the vendor on board. Security was also really important. Security is very important to us here at Eastern, as it is everywhere else. But those are the main things that we were looking for. Ephlux has delivered on every single one of them. All of the bullet points covered on the screen are absolutely true. It's business analyst friendly. We found that when we were creating, we could create a relatively simple design document, a functional / technical design document. And when we gave it to the folks at Ephlux, they were able to immediately understand what we were talking about. It was all apples to apple. So it was very business analyst friendly. They actually already had for one of our applications, that one of our needs, they had a solution that almost completely covered it. That was a big help. It also covered the ability to work on both of the devices that we used. We used actually all three of them. We use an Android device, we use iPhones, and we use Windows tablets on our legacy application. They both could be customized, or we like to call it Easternized, so that our users had the ability to do both of these things in our legacy application, and we were able to make the forms look like they were used to, which was a huge plus. Obviously, the ability to take the JD Edwards functionality out so that we weren't having to reinvent anything inside JD Edwards was really a big thing. It helped us from so many points, not to mention the least of which is the fact that we didn't have to create anything new to make this stuff work. Moving on to the other app, this was one that came up later in the project. Actually, after we had started to roll it out, we discovered that there was an issue with our on-call. And on-call at Eastern means after hours, which, as you can imagine, based on where we are, when it's cold out, we do a lot of after hours deliveries. and the real root of the problem is when our drivers go to an on-call to make an on-call delivery, they get to the yard where our trucks are parked, and they assume that they're going to be using the trucks that they were assigned, but it's not guaranteed. There are a couple variables that can make them need to take another truck. First and foremost, and the biggest one, is if the truck doesn't start. That actually happens more than you'd think. The trucks are diesel, and when it gets really, really cold, sometimes they don't work. The second issue that they run into is inventory. If a truck has been run all day and it wasn't recharged before the on-call shift, it might make more sense to take another truck. The problem we had is with our new application, there was no way for the driver to change the truck on their route. And what that means is when our customer service people get the emergency call out from our customer, they create an order in JD Edwards, and it goes into the planner, and the planner is assigned to a truck. If all those things don't line up, when the driver starts the shift up for the on-call, he's not seeing the order that he needs to see. So what we found is that when things started to pick up here in November, December, when it started getting cold, we were having a lot of misses where our drivers would need to go and make ad hoc orders for these on-call emergency deliveries, which creates a mess for us the next day. What we needed to do was give them the ability to change the truck on these routes so that the order that we're creating for them goes to them. And that's where Ephlux stepped in to help us. The application that we created was custom. Again, we created a relatively simple design document, a functional and technical, that the Ephlux team was able to immediately understand because of their familiarity with JD Edwards. But an interesting part about this new application is that it doesn't just talk to JD Edwards. It also has the ability to talk to our logistics and routing application, which is Descartes. And that's really where the heavy lifting happens. It talks to JD Edwards to get general information about the trucks and the driver, but it needs to talk to the Descartes system in order to understand what the route is, and then to actually change the truck on the route. It does so via an API that is hosted by Descartes. So again, our drivers were already familiar with Swift because they've been using the time and attendance. The application looks and feels just like the application that they were using for time and attendance. And they obviously understood the concepts, so that they need to change the truck. So it was really easy for us to slide this in, and the project to develop it was really easy because we were able to utilize analyst people that understood the processes, but didn't need to understand the real technical part of it because the heavy lifting was done with Swift. This was a huge, a great experience for us to work with Ephlux to make this happen, but it was a huge bonus for us to be able to get this into production as quickly as we were able to, because we were faced with a winter of a lot of hardship based on the fallout from having these trucks not be set up correctly on the routes. If we weren't able to put this into production, we would have had to have to bring on an additional on-call shift every night from logistics in order to make these changes happen. So as far as efficiency is concerned and automation, there can't be a better use case than this for that.
Thanks a lot, Mark. It's a pleasure to have both of you, and I hope that everybody benefited from our session that we had put together.
Thanks, Ali.